Well, this is it, the big reveal, take two. You may remember 6 months ago I took delivery of this VFR 800. Well, now it's time to reveal her in her new dress with full hair and makeup done too. So here we are again. I'm about to reveal my 2007 VFR 800. But before I lift the cover, let me explain that throughout this video, I'll break down the price of every process and highlight everything that I've had done. At the end of the video, I'll reveal the total price and list the entire breakdown in the description below, so you can use that as a reference if you're possibly thinking about doing the same. So back when I purchased the bike, it was in okay condition. It had a few too many scuffs and bruises for my liking, even though the seller told me the bike was in excellent condition over the phone and that I wouldn't even notice the couple of slight scratches. Of course, this is rarely the case when you turn up to view a bike. The forks I thought were beyond cosmetic repair because they were so bad, and I'm aware that this is a common Honda problem, especially on bikes as old as this, but still I was beginning to wonder what size of a task I was about to embark on. The bike had clearly fallen as there were scratches on the fairings and the engine casing. The wheels weren't the colour I wanted, the frame wasn't the colour I liked, and the screen was going to have to be changed. Then there turned out to be a host of other problems, which were brought to light along this renovation process, which I'll get onto in a moment. And as if the seller knew my lust was fading, well, then he started it up. And that beautiful V4 Symphony found its way straight to my erogenous zones quicker than Michelle Pfeiffer. Well, of course, the deal was done. Having said all I wasn't happy with, the bike was still completely fine to ride and acceptable condition for its age, especially with 43,000 miles on it. And to many other riders, the aesthetics might not have bothered them as much as me, but I've always wanted one of these classics. And as you know, I'm a passionate lover of motorbikes, and this all starts by the way they look. So when I purchased it, I knew I was always going to have to spend a few quid on it to make it a long-term relationship. So rather than keeping you in any more suspense, I'm now going to carry out the big reveal before I start talking about the work which I've had done, because it'll make much more sense. So, drum roll please. So what do you think? I'm beyond ecstatic. As you know, the first thing which attracts me to any motorbike is its looks. And I'm in love. Now, for those of you wondering where the VFR decals are, I thought I'd try a set of shiny gold ones just for a bit of bling. But as you can see, it made the bike look like I'd just won it at the bingo, so they came straight off. So I've reordered, and I've ordered a set of black and a set of silver ones. And I'm going to ask you folk on a YouTube poll which you prefer, and then I'll add them as the final touch. Okay, let's wind the clock back a few months. My first stop was to CC's Motorcycles in Kells, where I wanted a full service done and a thorough check over. They pointed out a hole in the exhaust which was livable with but might deteriorate over time, and it was definitely affecting that engine note, which, let's face it, was one of the things I bought the bike for, so that had to be fixed. After that work was carried out, they then took the wheels and the forks off the bike to allow me to take them to Dublin, where I met a great guy called Jeff from Tala Powder Coating. From the minute I walked in there, Jeff had as much passion about bringing these back to life as I had, and even his suggestions about putting a fleck into the bronze wheels to make them pop even more, and then to give the black forks a satin finish were all the right things I wanted to hear. Just to recap, here is the before shot of the wheels, and now the after shot. And here are the forks beforehand, and now after. The wheels cost €250 and the forks cost €90.
I thought that was an absolute bargain. I was so impressed by Jeff and his team at Tala Powder Coating. Incidentally, he turned the job around for me within 3 days for me too. And he also had the flu, but he knew he had to make it happen because my next appointment was imminent.
So with the wheels looking so good, I thought I would treat them to some new rubber, especially since the tyres they had on were different brands, and I'm always a little bit sceptical about different tread patterns. And then the back tyre was actually a 190 instead of a 180, so off I went to Cotter's, also in Dublin, where I purchased a set of Michelin Road 6s, supplied and fitted for €400. All is going well. Back to CC's motorcycles in Kells, where they assembled the wheels and forks along with new oil and seals. Meanwhile, they'd done the service and got new parts from Honda to repair the hole in the exhaust, and then there were a few other small issues which were addressed, like loose panels and broken brackets. The total bill from them all in was €500. And again, I thought that was an incredible price. And two wonderful chaps, Christy and John, who are real enthusiasts and great characters, full of crack every time I popped in.
So on with the show, and the next part of the process was virtually a full respray. Since it turned out upon closer inspection, there were scratches on just about every panel.
There's quite a bit of process involved with spraying this colour due to the pigmentation in the paint, and it has to be sprayed a sort of pink colour first to achieve this final cherry red. I also had the frame painted a graphite grey, the same colour as the engine casing, only because I'd seen that done before in other photos and, well, I quite liked it. Then I wanted the radiator frames painted the same just to tie it all in. Of course the engine casing was touched up as well where it had had that previous fall. The guy who did that was recommended by CC's Motorcycles, and it turns out he doesn't live too far from me, about half an hour or so. Another great guy by the name of Damien, and a meticulous craftsman who took out blemishes I didn't even know were there until he pointed them out. When all that was done, then the panniers looked terrible, so Damien went to work on those too, and now everything looks gleaming. Incidentally, rather than me flashing phone numbers up on the screen for these craftsmen, if you live in Ireland and want to contact these folk, then just send me a message on this email address here, and I'll be happy to put you in touch. By the way, this part of the process has just set me back another €1,200. This was never going to be cheap, I'm afraid, but it has just made the bike look like a supermodel again, in my opinion.
And after its main makeover, I then had to add my own sort of accessories and personalise it a little bit, just to give it a sense of ownership.
I added a new windscreen. I went with the Givi screen because of the lip, which I hope will deflect the wind a little bit better than the one which was previously on it, because that was like a wind tunnel on my head at motorway speeds. I also chose the light smoke colour rather than the dark tint, because a lot of my time on bikes I spent filming for YouTube, of course, and with the dark screen there was just too much blocking the shot for you as a viewer. I personally think the light tint looks much nicer anyway, and this was €120. Next was a new tank protector, and again I wanted this quite muted to allow the bike to show off its own colours to the full extent without fancy tank graphics everywhere. I also added the SW Motec tank ring, which will allow me to hot swap my City Pro tank bag between this and my GS. And for when the bag isn't on there, just to keep things looking nice and tidy, I bought a carbon effect sticker which goes over the top of the fuel cap just to tie in again with the tank ring. I also got a carbon fibre effect yoke protector, as this had a lot of scuffs on from the previous owner's keys, and with that in mind I also got a fabric keyring rather than a metal one, and I'm now going to adopt this for all of my bike keys in the future. And of course, to finish off, I bought the Quadlock Yoke mount system for my phone and the vibration plate to go with it. This isn't cheap at €120, but in my opinion, it's the best there is, and I have it on my other bikes too, and as well as offering your expensive iPhone protection against vibration, it's just so easy to use as well as looking great, and it also looks like an integrated part of the cockpit design when the phone is attached.
I was going to get the bike detailed and ceramic coated, but to be totally honest, I just couldn't wait any longer. I had to have it back, but I'm sure once I've put a few miles under the tank, then I will get that done at a later stage. So I'm just going to pop up a graphic with all of the pricing involved with the restoration so far. But whilst they're reading that, I think it's about time we heard from the orchestra too. And as with most things in life really, this restoration is subjective and down to my personal taste. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all the people and their companies who got involved with this process and for sharing not just their expertise but their passion. I can honestly say because of all of these craftsmen, this project has been nothing but pure pleasure, albeit pricey. But would I do it again with another bike? Absolutely. For just over €7,000, I have the bike of my dreams, and now all I have to do is ride it, which will be in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, folks, and stay tuned for plenty more videos on this spectacular VFR 800. I'm Dave Perry, and this is Wheelie Good TV.